Welcome boys and girls, Costin here with a discussion about the campaigns in Total War Warhammer 3 that benefit immensely from the old world custom campaign map, as opposed to how things are in Immortal Empires. Because the area that you have to play a campaign in does play a significant role on how that campaign is going to be. And so starting at number 5, we have Lewin Leoncoeur of Bretonnia. Now, very importantly, Bretonnia in Immortal Empires just doesn't work all that well. The reason it doesn't work so well is because it's made up of a bunch of provinces with just 2 regions. Bretonnia in the Old World is not like that. Bretonnia in the Old World is either 3 or 4 region provinces. And this is a pretty big deal. Because you see, Bretonnia has a significant level of growth from their main settlements. Of course, that's nullified and made even worse with the fact that you don't have the capability of, having proper provinces. One of the reasons Rapunzel is so much better in Immortal Empires than the other Bretonnian lords is she has 3 or 4 region provinces available to her in Hekara and Araby, whereas others don't. So, as a result of that, you end up with a situation where building a massive empire as Bretonnia is far more viable. But on top of that, you also have such distance between the various settlements of Bretonnia that the general situation that does occur with Bretonnia in the campaign, where the factions you're researching to confederate get wiped out very quickly, that doesn't actually happen as much. I mean, obviously it does happen, but for instance, you can get Artois at a reasonable enough rate compared to where things are by default. Sure, the research could be faster, but I do appreciate the fact that they put in so much effort to also add in all these extra minor factions and also give you the research to be able to confederate them. Of course, you could always play as Rapunzel in the desert, deep in the desert, where knights on those flat fields would be in a very beneficial position. But yes, Lewin and Albrecht and the Fey Enchantress all end up having better campaigns. If there is a downside to this, is of course going to be related to the vow system, but nothing is perfect with regards to that. There is a mod that I would recommend using together with this, which automatically unlocks vows once your lords reach a certain rank. So that would be my perspective on that subject. Next up on the list is Tsarina Katrin of Kislev. See, Katrin does have a lot of issues because of the way Kislev is designed in Immortal Empires. It's too small, it's not worth it, and of course, Katrin's campaign issues don't end there, but it is a pretty big issue in her campaign that she has to deal with. Well, in the Old World custom campaign, she doesn't have that problem. Kislev itself gets a port, which gives it growth, extra growth, so if you want to grow it faster, that is available. But very importantly, the special cities of Kislev, be it Kislev itself, Erengrad, if we're looking at that specific situation, Erengrad and Prague all have ports, and all of them have these 4 region provinces. So that by default makes these provinces far more valuable. Sure, you're going to miss out on the caravan building chain over here because you don't have it available in especially Kislev cities, and the merchant guild hall doesn't compare. But all the same, it is a significant amount of economic potential and growth potential, quite crucially, for these special cities of Kislev. It means these provinces are actually the economic powerhouses that they should be in the lore. Sure, with the Old World, you do end up having the problem of supporters, because you don't really have foes against chaos, that many chaos factions necessarily around you, but they certainly do exist. So supporters are going to be slower to gain, unless you're playing, Boris Ursus. That is a very different situation, because he does start at war with chaos, and I believe he's the only one that starts at war with chaos. But all the same, it ends up being a very good benefit in your campaign as Katrin or as any Kislev to have these proper provinces. And you also have a Stankia close enough to you if you're playing Katrin. So again, another benefit with regards to that. Next up, we have Grom the Paunch, who does suffer in Immortal Empires from only having Massive Oracle as a single region province. That obviously does suck, and yes, that is something that does repeat itself throughout this video, but he also starts with the tier 2 Orc Barrack, so that means he has a lot more unit variety from the very beginning. He has a proper province available to himself over here, and that will help him a lot. To be certain, the climate around him is still temperate, and that does hurt him quite a bit, but there's also a lot more mountains surrounding Grom than there were before, and also more greenskin factions, minor ones to be sure, but at least they are there, so they are possibilities of confederation. So that is absolutely something you can take advantage of if you're looking to play a Grom campaign. Yes, again, a lot of temperate climate, but you have a fairly strong defensible position over here in Massive Oracle as the province with these 3 settlements. Something worth keeping in mind when you're looking to play Grom right here in the old world. It's not perfect, but it's a damn sight better than where it is by default. And that's the point of this video. It's not about who are the best legendary lords in the old world custom campaign mod. You know, the obvious would be there, right? You could talk about Arbol, you could talk about Grimgore, etc. But absolutely a huge benefit to Grom the Paunch's campaign. And number 2, we have Ikit of the Skaven. And like with others, it's really down to the changes to provinces. In this case, Skaven Blight being in a 4-region province is bloody amazing on all levels, without a doubt. I cannot stress enough how big of a deal this actually is for Ikit, because his starting position is cornered on all sides between legendary lords. He doesn't have the room to expand, and for Skaven in particular, having these kind of 4-region provinces is such an enormous benefit from an economic standpoint. Of course, we can talk about a recruitment standpoint, we can talk about the growth standpoint, which applies to everyone else, having 4-region or at least 3-region provinces, but that in itself is a huge freaking deal when you're looking to play an Ikit campaign. But there's more on this. See, Ikit is also kind of isolated from the other Skaven lords, so scroll, absolutely. But the benefit here is that Snitch has been moved to be close enough to you in this campaign in the Gnaw Pit. I'm not quite sure why he starts with the Clan Pit as opposed to, you know, the Assassin Den. But all the same, you do have Definite Master Snitch over here close enough so he is a potential Confederation target. Obviously, the settlement is not necessarily going to be the very best in the world, given that it's a single region province right there, but getting control of Snitch, confederating him, make a claw and Snitch together, that is a very, very good and deadly combination. Whether or not you're allied together, and surprisingly, this may shock some people, but Skaven actually do very well in their campaigns when they actually do work together. The problem with a lot of factions is that Skaven are hated, almost universally, by everyone. And for good reasons. But the thing is, Skaven do trade. They do benefit from having trusted allies. So having a Snitch close enough does give you that kind of trusted ally. So even if you don't confederate them quickly, you still have that kind of benefit. And look, there's other Skaven factions as well to take into consideration. I'm not quite sure why Tenowin is right here. I guess he is on that global crusade against the Skaven. But still, Tenowin versus Ikit, yeah, I'm gonna put my money on fucking Ikit right here in this situation. Also, you have Lokir close enough and Nikala, so those could also work as somewhat natural allies to help you out in your campaign. But yeah, a vastly superior experience compared to Immortal Empires. Like, very, very good campaign in general. Very huge update over here for Ikit. And finally, at number 1, it is Belegar Ironhammer. As much as I love Snitch, I cannot think of any other campaign in the game that benefits so much from the Old World custom campaign mod as Belegar does. Because you see in Immortal Empires, he's far away from Carrick 8 Peaks. Once he gains it, he's steamrolling everything. That's not how it works in this mod. In this mod, the way it functions is you have that upkeep, insignificant upkeep increase, but you also have the minus control on top of that. Here's the kicker though. The more of Carrick 8 Peaks you control, the lower that it is. So eventually you just completely remove it. That's one great thing. So it's a gradual process, not an instant I gain power situation that you have in the base games. And you are incentivized to go out there and conquer Carrick 8 Peaks. There's many reasons for it, like trying to save Carrick Azul, beating up Skarsnik, who doesn't like beating up Skarsnik, and all those kind of things as well. But here's another thing to also take into consideration. The way O Fulfilled works here as opposed to the base game. In the base game, you just take Carrick 8 Peaks, and then you remove the upkeep downside and get an O Fulfilled. Here, you just beat up Skarsnik, or rather, you take this specific element and you get an O Fulfilled. But that doesn't mean you get rid of the upkeep downside or the control downside here. So the downsides are bigger, but you're in a much better position to actually deal with them. And so it ends up being a vastly superior campaign compared to before. On top of that, and this is a crucial one, they have substantially, or not substantially, but they have changed the way these legendary grudges work. Like there's some additional ones for the Underray in particular. And because you're fighting Carrick 8 Peaks, then you move from burning Athalor into the ground as being your natural legendary grudge you want to complete to take control of Carrick 8 Peaks and get the Grudge Seller unit capacity per army. So this is overall a fantastic change and easily the winner for the Old World custom campaign mod. To be clear, there's a lot of other campaigns I haven't covered here. Like every Bretonnian campaign is much better. We could argue about Karl Franz, for instance, as well. We could even argue about Malachite to some extent. Though obviously Malachite's campaign is amazing by default anyway. But again, plenty of other campaigns that also benefit immensely from the Old World custom campaign map. These are just the ones that stand out to me. Costine, signing out.